You are listening to the CMQ Investing Podcast. My name is Chris Franco, and we are about to go back to 1988. This was a time when Warren Buffett was becoming more prolific, more prominent, frankly, just more famous. And there was an article published in Fortune magazine titled The Inside Story of Warren Buffett. It was written by Carol Loomis, who, if you know anything about Warren Buffett, then you know that there is a great collaborative relationship there. But the part of this article that I want to share with you, or this, I shouldn't even call it an article, it's really more of a profile piece. But there is a portion of this about the role that Charlie Munger played in Warren Buffett's evolution as an investor. And why I think this is interesting is, well, there's two reasons. For starters, when I do Instagram lives through the Instagram account Charlie Munger Quotes, I'm often asked questions about, how did Charlie Munger influence Warren Buffett? What would Warren Buffett have done without Charlie Munger, or how would his trajectory have been different? Something that, sometimes I take for granted that I might know a lot about, but there's always more to share, more to learn, and I realize that this is a topic that I think has some enduring value. The second reason I want to talk about this is because, well, at the time, Charlie Munger was very below the radar. The reason I say that is because the Berkshire meetings that we all know now, the videos of those did not start till 1994. Furthermore, and I'm getting this from the great biography of Charlie Munger, Damn Right, by Janet Lowe, the 76-year-old Munger said it was his goal to stay just below the wealth level required to be named to the Forbes Richest Americans list. It would help him stand just outside the limelight. Charlie Munger was not seeking attention. He was, like I said, and like the book just mentioned, he was deliberately staying outside of the limelight. So what I like about this is, knowing so much about Charlie Munger and learning so much from him, it's fun to read about him in these time periods. Now, with all that said, let's get into it. In his 1987 annual report, Buffett laments 20 misspent years, a period including all the partnership days, during which he searched for bargains, and alas, had the misfortune to find some. His punishment, he says, was an education in the economics of short-line farm implement manufacturers, third-place department stores, and New England textile manufacturers. The textile manufacturer, by the way, was none other than Berkshire Hathaway. Occasionally during Warren Buffett's misspent years, that is, back when he was searching for bargains, Buffett would be drawn toward a good business and, as if startled into unusual action, would plunge abnormal amounts into the opportunity. In 1951, then investing only his own money and mainly gravitating toward such bargains as Timely Close and Des Moines Railway, Buffett became fascinated by Geico, whose low distribution costs and ability to sign up a better set of policyholders than other insurers gave it a crucial advantage. Though the company did not begin to meet Ben Graham's mathematical tests, Buffett put $10,000, around two-thirds of his net worth, into Geico stock. He sold a year later at a 50% profit and did not again own the company until 1976. By then, Geico was magnitudes larger but near bankruptcy because it had miscalculated its claim costs and was underpricing. Buffett thought, however, that the company's competitive advantage was intact and that a newly named chief executive, John J. Byrne, would probably restore the company's health. Over 5 years, Buffett invested $45 million in Geico. Byrne did the job, becoming a close friend of Buffett's and often seeking his advice. Geico is today an industry star, and Berkshire's stake is worth $800 million. On another occasion, in 1964, while running the partnership, Buffett barreled into American Express stock at the time of the so-called salad oil scandal. An Amexico subsidiary that issued warehouse receipts was found to have certified the existence of mountainous quantities of oil that did not exist. On a worst-case basis, American Express might have emerged from that crisis with no net worth. The company's stock plunged. Ben Graham would have scorned the stock because, by his definitions, it offered no margin of safety. But Buffett assessed the franchises embodied in the company's charge card and traveler's check businesses and concluded these were assets that could carry Amex Co. through almost any storm. Buffett had an unwritten rule at the time that he would not put more than 25% of his partnership's money into one security. He broke the rule for American Express, committing 40%, which was $13 million. Some 2 years later, he sold out at a $20 million profit. Buffett considers himself to have been nudged, prodded, and shoved towards a steady, rather than intermittent, Appreciation of Good Businesses by Charles T. Munger, 64, Vice Chairman of Berkshire and the Charlie of Buffett's annual reports. In the U.S. corporate system, vice chairmen have a way of often not being important. That is decidedly not the case at Berkshire Hathaway. Munger's mental ability is probably up to Buffett's, and the two can talk as equals. They differ, however, in political views. Munger is a traditional Republican, Buffett a fiscally conservative Democrat, and in demeanor. Though sometimes cutting in his annual report, Buffett employs great tact when doling out criticism in person. Munger can be incisively frank. Last year, chairing the annual meeting of Wesco, a California savings and loan, 80% owned by Berkshire, Munger delivered a self-appraisal. Quote, "In my whole life, nobody has ever accused me of being humble. Although humility is a trait I much admire, I don't think I quite got my full share." End quote. Sounds like Charlie. Like Buffett, Munger is a native of Omaha, but as boys, the two did not know each other. After getting the equivalent of a college degree in the Army Air Force and graduating from Harvard Law School, Munger went to Los Angeles, where he started the law firm now known as Munger, Tolles & Olson. On a visit back to Omaha in 1959, Munger attended a dinner party that also included Buffett. Munger had heard tales of this 29-year-old who was remaking the Omaha investment scene and was prepared to be unimpressed. Instead, he was bowled over by Buffett's intellect. "I would have to say," says Munger, "that I recognized almost instantly what a remarkable person Warren is." Buffett's reaction was that of a proselytizer. Convinced that the law was a slow boat to wealth, he began arguing that Munger should give up his practice and start his own investment partnership. Finally, in 1962, Munger made the move, though he hedged his bets by also keeping a hand in the law. I want to interject here for one moment. One reason that I think Charlie Munger is a great example for, anybody is because he wasn't someone that, found fortune in his 20s or really at any sort of, young age. And I think he's a good example of, that compounding process. I don't mean that it took him till he was in his 60s or 70s or 80s. That's not the case. But in 1962, if my math is correct here, Charlie Munger was 33 years old. So he was 33 years old when he decided to leave what Warren Buffett described as a slow boat to wealth. He wasn't 23. Finally, in 1962, Munger made the move, though he hedged his bets by also keeping a hand in the law. His partnership was much smaller than Buffett's, more highly concentrated, and much more volatile. Nevertheless, in the partnership's 13-year history, extending through 1975, Munger achieved an annual average gain, compounded, of 19.8%. His wealth expanded as Buffett expected. Among other holdings, he owns nearly 2% of Berkshire, recently worth about $70 million. It's funny to think what that's worth now. When he met Buffett, Munger had already formed strong opinions about the chasms between good businesses and bad. He served as a director of an international harvester dealership in Bakersfield and saw how difficult it was to fix up an intrinsically mediocre business. As an Angelino, meaning someone who's from Los Angeles, he observed the splendid prosperity of the Los Angeles Times. In his head, he did not carry a creed about bargains that had to be unlearned. So in conversations with Buffett over the years, he preached the virtues of good businesses. And in time, Buffett totally accepted the logic of the case. By 1972, Blue Chip Stamps, a Berkshire affiliate that has since been merged into the parent, was paying 3 times book value to buy See's candy, and the good business era was launched. "I have been shaped tremendously by Charlie," says Buffett. "Boy, if I had listened only to Ben, would I ever be a lot poorer?" Last year at a Los Angeles party, Munger's dinner partner turned to him and coolly asked, "Tell me, what one quality most accounts for your enormous success?" Recalling this delicious moment later, Munger said, "Can you imagine such a wonderful question? And so I looked at this marvelous creature, whom I certainly hoped to sit by at every dinner party, and said, 'I'm rational.' That's the answer. I'm rational." The anecdote has a particular relevance because rationality is also the quality that Buffett thinks distinguishes the style with which he runs Berkshire, and the quality he often finds lacking at other corporations. And again, this article was called The Inside Story of Warren Buffett. It was published in the April 1988 edition of Fortune magazine, and it was written by Carol J. Loomis. And just a quick reminder, if you are new here, I hope you'll join a community of now more than 10,000 individual investors. All you have to do is just follow CMQ Investing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and that way you will get all the latest episodes in your feed as soon as they're released. Beyond that, don't forget, if you haven't already, it helps so much if you could leave a 5-star rating and write a written review if you're listening on Apple. I appreciate you for listening. On behalf of CMQ Investing, my name is Chris Franco. We'll talk soon.